Welcome to the Collegian Podcast. I'm Daeton Winebrenner, joined by Spahr, and today we will be talking about
Protecting your mental health while staying politically active.
in the modern political climate, everything sucks, and you know, you'll want to stay politically active, but it's such a draining thing to do, and I guess how would you protect your mental health while doing something like that I feel like just strains your mental health so incredibly much.
It does, especially because a lot of people are getting their news off of social media, which I don't recommend because one, social media it's built to be an incredibly heightened, like emotionally heightened situation. So you're going to get people that are incredibly upset. So it's very polarizing, which is already just draining to go through. And then it's built to keep you there and to keep you scrolling. So it's built to make you engage. And that's not always you engaging in a healthy way.
I definitely agree. Social media loves to blow everything out of proportion. My sister, she likes to watch TikToks and, she'll get news reports. It's Trump kills 15 million immigrants, like personally, and then it's like Subway Surfers gameplay at the bottom. And people see that shit and they'll believe it, Or like
Yeah,
Joe Biden personally transitions 15 lucky students. Like,
yeah, I think
people be posting anything.
it's like all those fake news things that you used to see on Facebook all the time. Where
Used to?
I'm not on Facebook, I wouldn't know.
I am.
Oh well, I guess. um,
Yeah.
But like, it worked because people wouldn't research it further. It worked because people wouldn't look into it. They would just take it at face value and be like, "Oh, if it's here, like
It's on the internet. It has
it's
to
on
be
the
true.
internet, it's true," or "It's here." And even if I don't pay that much attention to it, like you're still absorbing it as you're scrolling by. So
Yeah, for sure. It's just no matter what, social media is gonna mess you up, especially if you're using it, politically. You're like using it to see what's going on politically. That's just a terrible idea. But there's just not really a whole lot of good places to get your political information anymore. You get it on social media, which is either heavily doctored or just completely rage bait or just completely false. Or you get it from a mainstream or a mainstream media corporation, like Fox, CNN, MSNBC, whatever, and you can't believe any of that either. And so
which is
what?
honestly, like, if you're going to be really delving into news, you have to be looking at multiple sources and checking their credibility, which there are sites to do that.
Yeah, there are, but I feel like there's probably at least a hint of bias in literally everything,
I mean,
including
yeah.
the websites. But
I mean, they're made by people and people have inherent bias, and you're never going to fully get rid of that. The point is to at least be aware of the bias that you are paying attention to.
and try and get at least like the most truthful information you can.
Yeah, and usually, especially with how polarized things are right now, usually the only way to effectively do that is to look at things from both sides of the spectrum and things in between and be like, okay, what's like the general thing that they're reporting? Because the general consensus is amongst all of these is probably what's true.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely 100%. Um, what do you think are some like good ways that you can like use that information to become politically active and in like a smaller town like Hutchinson?
Um, oh man. Honestly, looking at like your local radio stations and newspapers because they're going to be reporting on your local politics. And it's a lot easier to affect your local politics than it is to affect things on a national level. The goal, really, when being politically active is obviously to make change and to leave the world better than we found it, but it's also to not feel helpless. And getting all your news from social media, staying in that habit of constantly doom scrolling, all that's going to do most of the time is make you feel helpless. Because, I mean, they're just reporting everything that's going bad, and you don't know if all the things they're saying is, you don't know if all of it's true.
No, absolutely. I feel like everything that on the internet these days are negative. Like everything is just so negative. They have accounts dedicated to just happy stuff now because everything
They
is
really
so
do.
goddamn negative. I mean, every time I open my phone, there's always some bullshit, you know?
Mm-hmm. And this is why any social media I use is curated to just be like fan communities about like the media that I watch and read.
Yeah, that makes that.
And even that is sometimes just negativity.
It's 2025. Everyone sucks. Everyone's toxic.
But yeah, I think also part of it is if you're going to like engage with social media, know what you want to get out of it and curate your experience accordingly, and also know when to walk away from a situation. Know when to just be like, I either don't have the energy for this, or this person is probably rage baiting and it's just not worth it.
That I definitely agree with that 100%. It's really important to set boundaries on how you use social media and when and who you talk to on there.
There's a block function for a reason.
I feel like
curate your experience.
A lot of people don't know how to block, and it's crazy. Like they'll have people like harassing them in their comments, or they'll be saying some stupid shit, and they'll just argue back and forth instead of just blocking them.
Yeah, like I do often advocate for open avenues of conversation, but like it's really hard to do that on the internet where people are, I think we said this last time, but people tend to forget that there's another person on the other side of that screen, so they just are mean and cruel.
Well, a lot of people, they don't even want to discuss. They just want to scream and be mad and be right.
They just want to fight.
And that's unfortunate, but that's the modern state of politics and the internet as a whole. It's a very difficult thing to navigate, but I feel like if you find like a specific niche or like area where you can be involved politically, but still protecting your like mental health, that's like the perfect spot to be. But it's just so difficult.
It's difficult to find. And also something is like finding time just for yourself and to like, even when you're engaging in social media in a healthy way, it's still not like a hobby. It's still not doing something off the internet.
I feel like a lot of people have replaced their hobbies with social media instead of, you know, spending an hour practicing an instrument or reading or woodworking, you know.
Like
now
I've seen people where they've realized that this is a thing that they're doing, that they've gotten like addicted to just scrolling through social media, and they've decided to like put that down and pick up like crocheting or a new skill, because that like it allows you to actually do something with your time.
Constructive.
It's like when you're on social media, what are you doing with your time?
Looking at funny videos of cats playing piano.
Yeah, which I mean can bring a smile to your face, but it's just like
it doesn't fulfill your soul.
Yeah, it's not fulfilling.
You feel empty.
Yeah, like oftentimes I'll catch myself doing that, and then I'll like sit back and be like, what have I done for like the past 30 minutes? What if I like, do I feel good about the fact that I've spent 30 minutes sitting here?
Only 30 minutes?
Usually it's not, but as it was the first number that popped into my head, to be honest. But it's just like sitting back and checking in with yourself and being like, do I feel good about the fact that I've just been sitting here?
Yeah, that's very important. Self-reflection as a whole, especially in like
it's uncomfortable.
No, it's very uncomfortable. You have to acknowledge the fact that you're not as awesome of a person as you probably think you are.
You're not perfect.
And that sucks, but nobody is perfect.
Like, you're not perfect, buddy. Guess what? That makes you human.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the humanity gets lost in, you know, online political activism and just political activism in general.
Yeah, it's like there's all these boxes that you have to like check or fit within, and it's very isolating. It's very polarizing. And it's also just not realistic. People don't fit perfectly in boxes.
Exactly. Well, I think that's part of a reason why new politics or like new stances on politics are becoming so popular with like people our generation,
Mm-hmm.
younger people, because with a lot of the older parties, like Republican conservatives and Democrat liberals and stuff, if you're with them, you have to check all these boxes,
You have to follow the party
yeah,
line.
you have to toe the line. And I feel like with a lot of these younger people, they don't want to have to do that. And I think that's why there's so many new movements and so many,
Mm-hmm. But like all of those new movements that you see on social media, like they're because that's often where they start off. Like
because I mean
they
that's how
still
that's how
have
they
like
spread the message.
their prerequisites. Like you still have to fit in with. You still have to like fall in line with what they think, and it's still not a super open or accepting place to like have conversation.
Yeah, that's what really sucks. I feel like because everyone insists that you agree with them, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone insists that you need to share the same line of thought of them as them, and it's not cool. I
How are you
feel
supposed to learn if everyone's sharing the same
because
line of
because
thought?
people don't want to learn; they want to be reaffirmed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but
And I feel like, especially some place like Hutchinson, I feel like we could use a community where open political discussion is encouraged, and
because we've got a really interesting mix of demographics in Hutchinson. Because we've got like obviously the college, and so all of these college age people, and then you've also got like quite a few older people. So you've got very different demographics.
exactly, and it feels like in concept, it'd be such a good opportunity to learn from so many different
It
sides,
really
and
does.
get everyone together and really learn everything. But instead, everyone's just further away as possible. I look on the Hutchinson Facebook groups, and everyone's just shit talking to each other or
Mm-hmm.
saying stuff on social media, super inflammatory stuff, and then people are arguing in the comments, and it's just everything sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. But going back to like doing things in your actual life in the real world, don't deprive yourself of the things that bring you joy. Like I've seen like this idea that you always have to be engaged in political movements, like you always have to be on the ground working. Like that's exhausting.
You should be allowed to take breaks, take
Like
time for yourself.
the point of activism, the point of getting involved in political movements is to make the world better and to improve quality of life
But if you,
for a lot of people. But like, you still are alive now. You still deserve to have good quality of life now. And some of that is going to take effort on your part
yeah,
to
exactly.
engage with the things that make you happy.
It's important to be an activist for your community, for your people, but above all, it's most important to be an activist for yourself. And I feel like a lot of people lose that.
You got to set boundaries for your involvement. You have to learn and respect your own limits.
It
You can't do it all.
feels like people are afraid of boundaries. They just want to do everything when they can't.
Yeah, like the reason that like community is so important is because there's going to be people who can cover your weaknesses and like you can cover theirs. You help each other. You don't try and do everything by yourself. Being isolated, it's not a good feeling.
It really
It's
is
not a
not.
good feeling.
But even inside these political groups, people they still infight. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like you have to do everything yourself because then someone's gonna take you over, or they're gonna be pissed and they're gonna kick you out.
Yeah, they're
Or
still fighting about like terms and who exactly is allowed to do what and talk about what. And it's just like,
I mean, it's just we're so stuck up on artificial problems that we forget what the real issues are.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a really major part of political activism that doesn't get talked about very much is, staying rooted in your own community.
Yeah.
A lot of people they'll travel and they'll be activists in other communities, but a lot of people, they forget where they came from. They'll forget
Mm-hmm.
to activate or not activate. They don't want to be an activist
Yeah.
for their own community. And I feel like a lot of that like local identity gets lost when I feel like it should be brought back. Because everybody comes from somewhere, whether you
Mm-hmm.
like it or not.
And that where you come from is going to have an influence on how you grew up, what you grew up around. It's going to influence your core beliefs, those include things that maybe you need to like dismantle, but like being aware of where you came from is really important because it can help inform like what you need to work on and also just in general like what the people around you need.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of people are ashamed by their past, politically or what they've done. And they just don't acknowledge it. They act like it never existed, which I feel is more damaging than actively going out of
Yeah.
your way to correct your past
Like
or
I
do things
honestly
differently.
think I think that's a product of cancel culture because it did become like people digging through your past and like, oh, look, you did this wrong like 10 years ago and holding who you are now to who you were then.
It's crazy.
It's like
If we dug up everybody's past, I'm pretty sure
we all
nobody would
have
have a job. We'd all be homeless.
we all have things that we're not proud of.
And that's part of the human experience. But I feel like a lot of that gets lost in especially modern political activism. You're
Yeah.
expected to be perfect. You have to say the right thing every time. It's only black or white. There's no gray area.
And I think that's part of why it's so difficult to have a good conversation because part of having a conversation is being able to admit that, oh, hey, I don't know as much about this as I thought I did, or I'm wrong. And that's okay. And I need to go and take some time on my own to learn more and do better.
Exactly. There's so many people who are activists in bad faith or they just go out of their way to make everyone else look worse than them. And
Yeah. Or like someone will point out like, hey, this thing that you said or did recently, like this thing that you said or did is like racist, homophobic. Like it falls under one of these like, hey, you might not have known this, but like this is something that's harmful. And I've often seen the response to that be like blocking the person who's trying to be like, hey, there's more you can learn here.
yeah, I definitely agree with you. I feel like people treat, like trying to figure out how to word this, if you like talk to someone and they have some like unsavory opinions or they said some unsavory things, call them racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever. I feel like people use those as like personal attacks instead of ways to build upon your character or potentially adopt less harmful views, I guess.
Yeah. They take it as a personal attack instead of like hey, I'm telling you this because I care about you and I want you to do better.
Yeah. No, because I mean I've had friends in the past who've just gone down absolutely like insane like pipelines and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, I don't like where this is heading for you, dude. I feel like there's still time to change, and they don't appreciate that. Like we said,
like it never feels good to be called out. It never feels good for someone to be like, hey, you're wrong.
Yeah,
like it
it
doesn't
sucks.
feel good.
Nobody wants to be wrong. Everybody loves being
But
wrong.
we're gonna be wrong, and I think
That's part of being human.
yeah, and I think making your peace with the fact that you're going to make mistakes is going to make being politically active a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
And also just like get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's okay. it's not always going to be about your comfort, and that's okay.
All everyone cares about now is their comfort. It's such a me society that they forget about everyone else.
Yeah.
I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want this to be my fault. Everything else is everyone else's fault. I want to be comfortable. I want Milkies. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add on to that.
Are we cutting that part out?
I don't know. Should we?
I don't know. Probably. I don't want me on the collegiate podcast saying I want Milkies.
Yeah. But no, honestly, I don't have anything to add to what we said thus far. Like, you gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable and set boundaries.
Yeah, it's important to know when to disengage.
It's so important.
Because people, they'll just keep going. I've seen people arguing in like threads and comments for days and days. Just take a step back from the phone, put it down, go on a walk, talk to your parents. I don't know, dude. Just do something other than be miserable and talk on the internet all day. Because I've never met a single person who is on the internet a lot, politically, who is happy. They're all depressed as shit. They all hate their lives, and they just can't see how social media is doing that to them, and it's dangerous.
If you're going to like use social media to keep up with things, which has its merits. Sorry, it has its merits on occasion. Like the No Kings protest earlier this year would not have been as big as it was if it weren't for social media. It's not all bad. And it is, in fact, a great way to get involved in like these nationwide protests. But I think like setting a time limit or like setting up your social media to find the things that you want to find and then setting that time limit. So just like I'll spend like 15 minutes looking through my social media that I've geared towards being politically aware, and then I'm turning it off. And if I still want news, I can go and find articles from other sources. I think it's really just, again, setting boundaries and using social media in a way that you get from it what you're wanting from it. You have to curate your experience.
I think with me, like you said, how do you see what's going on in the world, to see the news and not get depressed or, not be upset, whatever. For me, it's a lot of how I traverse like political social media without, being upset, depressed, whatever, is through my faith. I feel like whenever there's something bad going on in the world, whenever something shitty's happening, I think, there's always God's plan. God has a plan for this, and I feel like as long as I am strong and true in my faith, that's no matter how bad it gets, there's always going to be a way out. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
And I think also like not ignoring the fact that like, yeah, what's going on sucks and I don't feel good about it, but I'm trying to stay engaged and like acknowledging the fact that like it doesn't always feel good. And then again, putting it down and like doing something that does feel good.
Yeah. I mean, as humans, we're not meant to feel good. We're meant to ooga booga and collect berries and live in caves, you know what I mean? And like ride dinosaurs and shit.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely how that works. That's definitely how that works.
Hey, listen, man. I wasn't gonna say anything.
I was listening.
That was your first mistake, was listening to me.
Oh well. So is this podcast a mistake then?
No. Sometimes I have good things to say, dude. I had forearms yesterday. My forearms got fucking yoked, dude.
Platform to talk about your.
Nah, dude. I'm talking, dude. I'm getting strong as. Women with short hair and septum piercings hit me up. at Daeton Winebrenner on Instagram.
No way.
At Daeton.wine on Snapchat.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Cut
that.
that.
Yeah, cut that part.
Oh my god.
Just make above all else, make sure to protect yourself. I feel like that gets lost a lot. People care too much about everyone else that they forget to,
You matter
protect.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
You matter.
We matter. Well, I think that's all for today. This has been the Collegian Podcast with Daeton Winebrenner and Kai Spahr, and we will see you again sometime. Bye-bye.